Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Deb Uber, the Education Coordinator for the Embryo Adoption Awareness Center, and we are excited to have you all here this morning and pleased to bring you the webinar entitled Connecting with the Donor Family. We have three lovely families joining us today to share their personal embryo adoption and donation stories. But before we get started, we actually want to start with a little bit of housekeeping. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation using the questions you submit through the Q&A feature. You may submit your questions at any time during the session, and we will answer as many as possible at the end of the presentation. To ask a question, simply click on the Q&A panel on the lower right-hand portion of the screen. Type your question into the dialog box and click the send button. If you happen to be in the full screen view, you can click on the question mark icon on the toolbar in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. This will open the Q&A panel on your screen only. When you submit your questions, it will be visible to all of the panelists, but not visible to other attendees. We expect the presentation to last approximately 45 minutes, with 15 minutes for Q&A, and we will be distributing a copy of today's presentation and a list of answers to all questions submitted today during the webinar. If you are experiencing any technical difficulties during the presentation, please contact the WebEx technical support at 866-229-3239. And just as a reminder, this presentation is being recorded today. So let me go ahead and switch over to our presenters. And today we are going to be joined by Melissa Eggleton from Texas, Linda and Chip Schneider from Wisconsin, and Karina and Bert Pohl from Canada. They will each be telling you a bit more about themselves, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that up to them and be sharing a lot about their experience with embryo adoption and connecting with their donor family, and in one case, the adoptive family, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our first presenter, Melissa. Michael unfortunately couldn't make it today because of work, but they're both very excited to get the chance to share their story. Melissa and her husband, Michael, have 4 children and made a decision to donate those embryos. So, Melissa, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to share a little bit of our experience with the embryo adoption as far as the openness goes. When we first decided that we were done having children, it was a real hard decision to figure out what to do next. And after thinking long and hard, we knew that we wanted to have an open adoption. We didn't want the questions of how many are born, were they boys, girls, is everyone healthy? We just had to know what were happening with these embryos, because after seeing them born, even from a frozen state, they're little babies to us, not just embryos. And we chose our family. They were actually the first couple that we were presented with, but they seemed to be a great fit. And from day one, the contact has been open and amazing. During their first pregnancy, they would call us after every doctor's appointment, sometimes even during a doctor's appointment, keeping us posted as to how the pregnancy was going. And then once they had their first baby girl, Callie, we got pictures immediately. There's been plenty of visits. We've been very open with all the children. They all know that they are biologically brothers and sisters. We don't get to visit quite as often as we'd like because of the distance, but we do FaceTime and just spend all the time we can visiting and talking and sharing pictures. And our kids seem to enjoy the fact that they know they have brothers and sisters out there. Well, a brother on the way. And there's never going to be any wonder with them, you know, where are my siblings? What are they doing? And also being open from a young age, we feel like they're never going to have the feeling like they've been lied to by saying, not being open from the beginning, saying this is your biological sibling. So that was our goal from the get-go, to make it as comfortable as possible for the children and make sure that they all feel loved, and they are all loved. Chip and Linda are constantly in contact with our children, and they actually came down for their birthday party 2 years ago. So it's a very, very close family dynamic, there's never been any question as to whether or not we made the right decision. We're at a point now where they're just considered family. It's not an adoptive family. It's just family. And we've met all of their family members. They've met all of ours. Chip and Linda have actually been with us during some tough times. And so we absolutely love them. We love being able to share our babies with them and them share the babies with us. And at this point, I don't want to take up too much time. I want to give everybody else time to talk so we have time during the Q&A. So at this point, I think I'll hand it over to Chip and Linda.
Okay. Can everyone hear me, hopefully? Thanks, Melissa. You make me emotional. You get me all teary. So I'm Linda Schneider, and my husband Chip is here with me, too. And we're just excited to talk with all of you. I'm hoping to maybe inspire at least one of you to consider open adoption. It's just been so wonderful. I can't tell you. It's been really not only a blessing in terms of our daughter and son on the way, but really a blessing from unexpected perspective of gaining, like Melissa said, additional family. So a little bit about us. Chip and I, we knew from the beginning when we started talking about having a family that if we were unable to have a family genetically on our own, that we would certainly consider adoption. We did try through 3 IVF cycles to become pregnant, and unfortunately, those did not work. At that point, we thought, you know, if we were going to be successful and have a family, we had to consider other options, and we started looking into adoption. We really considered all forms of adoption. We considered international, we considered domestic. We knew we wanted a baby versus a younger child, at least for the first adoption. So when we went down the path of embryo adoption, I'll tell you, initially, my first thought was, well, why would I want to do that when I can adopt a baby? You know, because we don't know if the embryo would become a baby. So we talked about some other things and went, you know, down some other paths, and ultimately we were led back to embryo adoption and learned that the match time is often a lot faster than with a domestic adoption. Chip was actually even more excited than me initially about the thought that, well, then I can be pregnant and I can carry. And even though we were a little unsure, like, could I really carry a baby if I can't become pregnant, we thought, you know, it was certainly worth trying to be able to experience that, and that was exciting. And then in Wisconsin, if you go with an infant adoption, you know, with a birth mother and down that path, there's a 30-day wait period where the birth mother can change her mind. And that was scary to think about that. So the thought about giving birth to our baby and having that baby be born with our last name and, you know, not having the heartbreak of the birth mother changing her mind, plus having all the history and knowing the family, you know, medical history, that was also a great thing. And then there's also the idea, you know, in a birth mother situation, it can be very different in terms of the demographic, the situation, the health of the child due to the condition, you know, and living situation of the birth mother. But with adopting embryos, you're typically adopting from an established family that had more embryos than they were able to, you know, have as part of their family, but still want, you know, them to have life. So it's a very different scenario. Chip, I don't know if you want to add anything?
I would agree.
So quickly, I became pretty excited about it. I will share with everyone in all honesty that from the beginning, the openness scared me. I was, you know, I grew up in the 80s, lots of sensationalized stories about parents coming back and wanting the babies that they had chosen adoption for. But as part of the process, as I'm sure you're all probably aware, you go through training, you attend webinars, and that made all the difference for me. Chip was willing to be open from the beginning. For me, it took going to those webinars, including one session where we actually got to meet birth parents face-to-face and hear their stories. And it really struck me when the two ladies shared that, you know, initially they got pictures, and these were adoptions from years ago, right? So things were different, but for whatever reason, in both cases, pictures stopped coming, and they had no way of knowing what happened to their babies, and they were both very heartbroken about that. So that, along with learning that, you know, truly our child would be better off, happier, more comfortable with themselves, better self-esteem, if they knew where they came from and who their genetic connections were. And at that point, it was really more of a selfless decision. I just knew for our babies, we had to be open. And like I have on the slide here, I mean, I really, thanks to God that I changed my mind, because we could not be happier. And if I can share anything with you, if you trust in being open, if you trust in the match from Nightlight and Snowflake and you feel good about it from the beginning, you know, in terms of your conversations with the genetic family, it could be a bigger blessing than you ever imagined, to go with being open. And I get choked up. I will never forget when Mike and Melissa called us. It was actually, they called us Christmas Eve, and we were at family celebrations and missed their call. We called them back Christmas morning, and they shared with us that they had chosen us, selected us, and it was the best Christmas present ever. Those are pictures of our little baby girl, Callie, when she was 1 month old and 6 months old. She's now a little over 2 months old. Yeah, I'm sorry, thanks, Jeff, 2 years old and 4 months, and she is just the joy of our life. She is just amazing. We feel like she was made for us. Like Mike and Melissa shared, we're very open. We love knowing them. We love having them as part of our family. We also consider them family. All their family is our family. All our family is theirs. Some of our extended family and friends are actually connected as well through Facebook, not just us. And it's been a joy. We visit them. They have plans to come visit us. And, you know, we talk all the time, and we're in constant communication, and it's wonderful. Callie, as little as she is, she knows about her brothers and sisters as well. We show them pictures, and she knows their names, and that's really nice for us, too. So, anything you want to share, Chip?
I guess my only regret is Mike and Melissa aren't Packer fans, but we have plenty of time to change that.
Yeah, I don't expect that to change, but it's a friendly rivalry. So yeah, we welcome any questions that you guys have for us. Again, the biggest thing I want to say is, you know, if you can consider and trust in the process of being open, it can just be such a joy. When Callie gets presents from her genetic family, her Texas grandparents, you know, it's exciting. She knows them and talks about them, and it's just fun to see. And here are some pictures of all of us. There's little Callie meeting her sisters and brother for the first time, and of course Mike and Melissa with Callie and their son, Trevin, and then us with Callie. So, yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Linda and Chip. That's just such a great story. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce Karina and Bert. They actually live in Canada, and they have 2 kids. They are matched with a family who they're in actually America. So I'm going to go ahead and let them get started. Let me unmute them really quick. Karina and Bert, it's really great to see you both and have you both here.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be a part of this and to, I don't know, hopefully get the word out about how awesome open adoption is and what a blessing it's been for our family, for sure. So Bert's actually going to do more of the speaking here. He's a lot better at it, and I'm afraid Enoch will be noisy. But, yeah, so Bert will do some talking here.
So I hope my accent doesn't confuse people. I'm from Australia. So, yeah, we're hoping I can communicate clearly and the kids aren't too much of a distraction. All right, where do we begin? Adoption, the whole process has been a roller coaster ride. We found out that we couldn't have children back in, when was that?
4 years, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, let's say 6 years ago. And after going through the process of IVF, trying to have children, or at least discovering that the likelihood was very low, we started looking at different options. So I guess IVF was the first place we looked at. From there, our options, at least in Canada, was fostering, which we considered for a while. I think, at least for Karina, the emotional side was, I think, a big hurdle of having a child with you, let's say, for a few months, and then realizing that you wouldn't be able to, or wouldn't be able to go forward with adoption.
I don't know if I could handle that, especially for the first one. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that was some of the thoughts, at least in the decision-making process. I had heard about embryo adoption through a lecture I had probably 10 years previously. And it was in the back of my mind, and we thought, well, hey, we'll check it out. And Karina found the website, Snowflakes, and we fell in love. It was amazing to just see the way that they put things together. We've been impressed with the process all the way through and have loved it. I think the one question, though, was openness. And, I mean, for whatever reason, I'd never really considered that as an option. I suppose my familiarity was with closed adoption. So after looking at the Snowflakes website, we began to work through these issues. And, I mean, it was interesting. All of our friends and family had a very negative view. They were very scared of open adoption. But we
honestly, that was my first reaction as well. Well, for many reasons, but thankfully that's all been taken care of.
We spoke with a home study worker who was just amazing. She, as it turns out, had been an advocate of open adoption for probably 20, 30 years previous. And she was exceptional in answering the questions. And I suppose some of the big questions in our minds was, well, I guess the priority of questions was what was going to be good for the child. And that, more than anything else, was, I guess, what swung us and made us think more and deeply about open adoption. But some of the things that she covered was that for children in, let's say, a closed adoption situation, it's not a question that you'll be able to avoid as parents. And I don't know, I think personally I gravitated to wanting a closed situation, and after hearing that, it was like, okay, it's going to come out sometime. And then when it comes out, she explained that the children have a deep need to answer questions, to, how would you put that, Karina?
Yeah, they just want to know. They just need to know.
Yeah, the adoption
information as possible. Yeah.
The adoption worker had a nephew who never heard from his parents that he was adopted, and she explained that in his life, he's aware on one level that he's adopted, but it's just one of those background questions that he's not been able to deal with. Another thing that really helped when she was explaining things was that it's not going to be a competition for the child's affection, that as adoptive parents, the children that we have are our children. They're very much family. And at least one thing that she said that put my mind at rest was that, if anything, their fears would be more that they would be taken away, or that they would lose the adoptive family, which has become their family. You know, that we've received them into that situation. That really set me at rest. And so just talking through with her brought us around completely to going ahead with an open adoption. And definitely as things have unfolded, we have really appreciated it and feel even more convicted that it is so helpful for our children.
Can't imagine anything else. They're the best kids ever, and yeah.
Yeah, since we have gone through the process, let's see, some of the things that have been really helpful relating to the adoptive family was to realize, at least from their perspective, that they have worked through the questions of adoption and giving their children to us as parents. I suppose that was another fear I had, definitely, that the genetic parents would perhaps have regrets, and to hear, at least in conversations we had, how deeply they've worked through that question just set me at ease. We have loved getting to know the genetic parents. It's been amazing to get to know the siblings, because they're full-blood siblings, and to see their personality traits.
They've been together, and they actually babysat our oldest while we had the transfer for the next for Enoch, and it was awesome. I thought, I mean, that would have scared me to death before, but it's if we lived closer, we would see each other so much more, and you know, do the whole family picnics and that kind of thing. It's something I never could have dreamt. Never could have dreamt, and they feel like family. Maybe like, say, my siblings or something. It's a very close relationship, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's definitely like extended family. And I've loved seeing the similarities. I mean, you can see the personality traits in the genetic parents' children, and see them coming out in our own, which has been beautiful. We encourage them to think of their siblings as siblings, and hope that, especially in the future, that relationship will grow stronger, and they'll appreciate it definitely as time goes on. I think one of the things we really appreciated with Snowflakes was the adoption process and being matched. We really wanted to have a family that we could get along well with, and connect with. And I think the options that we were presented with, we felt they were very much aiming that way. And then the Peterson family especially, wow, yeah, we connected so much. And I still remember when they answered us and saying that they would like to go ahead with the adoption, just how emotional that was. I mean, for them and also for us, and then getting to know them more, the connection's just gone deeper. Anything else you'd like that we kind of missed over?
No, that's pretty good.
It's definitely been a positive experience all the way through. We have no hesitation with it, and we'll definitely do it again. So I'll wrap up here and hopefully get some questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, both. I loved hearing that story, and I know that you guys connected so well with the Petersons too, so that's just awesome to hear. I'm going to go ahead and open this up to the question and answer time, and during that time I'm also going to unmute all of the families, and so it might be a little bit noisy. We'll do our best in that situation. So right here we have how to submit your questions, and you can go ahead and just click on the question mark icon if you see that and enter in any of your questions. I already have one that was submitted earlier, but I'll give you some time to enter in any other questions. And while you're doing that, I'm going to also let you know about some upcoming events. We actually have 2 upcoming events. They're going to be evening webinars, and so for me that's going to be 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Both of these are going to be evening webinars. So the first one we have is our quarterly embryo donation and adoption open mic night. And so for families that are interested in either donating or adopting embryos, they can come in. We'll give a brief overview about embryo donation and adoption, and then we just open up the floor for any questions. It's been really good. We've had questions we've never even heard before, even as long as we've been going through and hearing questions from families that are interested in. And so it's a really great webinar to attend, especially because there might be questions asked that you didn't even think of. And then on Wednesday, July 15th, we have kind of what would be the second part of this webinar. It's another personal stories webinar, and this one is called Snowflakes Beating the Odds. And so this one's going to actually be about, we're having 3 families join that ended up adopting some what clinics would say would be lower grade embryos. And so 2PN or day 3 embryos, all 3 of these families adopted those types of embryos, and they're going to share their story, what happened next in their situation. It's going to be really fun, so I hope you can attend those. I'm going to go ahead and get started on the questions, so let me go ahead and unmute everybody. So we have Melissa and Linda and Chip, and then of course Karina and Bert were already on. The first question I have, do other families have their genetic family as a Facebook friend or not? And would you say that you would recommend this? And I would go ahead and say, let's just, whoever wants to jump in first, and then.
I would, well, I guess once you get to know the couple, absolutely. There's many times that it's so easy to upload a photo of our children, and then Chip and Linda can see and show Callie. But we're very open and we're like family, so I would add them just like I would add any other family member. And most of their family and friends and our family and friends are all friends on Facebook. So I guess it would depend on the relationship, but I think you would find the relationships are matched very, very well through Snowflakes.
And,
yeah, do you,
sorry, I was just going to say that we actually aren't Facebook friends, but I've thought so much about it, like just doing it. I mean, we just haven't done it, and I think it would be amazing.
Yeah, and this is Linda. As you know, we are Facebook friends with Melissa and Mike, and that has spurred, you know, friendships between our families and such too. But I actually think we became Facebook friends really early as part of the process after they selected us, and we talked with each other. Again, the Snowflake match was just a great match. We connected pretty early, and I think that being on Facebook has, you know, just helped build that relationship with each other, and it is nice to be able to share with them. It helps bridge the gap with the distance, to be able to, you know, post things about Callie, post videos, post, you know, just little items where everyone gets busy during the day. That way, you know, they can see what's happening, and it was really nice being able to see pictures of their family and their kids even early on when we were first matched. It was really nice to be able to do that. So I definitely would do it again, and I would do it early. It worked out great for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've actually heard a couple of families that are also on Instagram and that kind of thing, and so that's just how they share pictures and communication. But I think it just depends on the family, and it depends on the relationship. So our next question is that each of you has chosen to have a face-to-face relationship with the other family. What do you think about simply communicating using the emails, phone, or the internet?
This is Melissa, and personally, I would discourage it. I think the face-to-face meeting was absolutely amazing, and even though we were connected on so many levels beforehand, once we had that face-to-face meeting, it just jumped it up even more levels, and even more so now that they've had a child with another on the way. Now when we have our face-to-face meetings, our children are actually getting together, spending time together, and when you see them all playing together, it's priceless.
I would agree also very much that there's so much more that we've gotten out of the face-to-face interactions than we could have, I feel, from email or something like that. I would strongly encourage it, definitely.
Yeah, I would, of course, absolutely say the same thing. This is Linda. I mean, our first face-to-face was when I was pregnant with Callie. Mike and Melissa came and visited around my birthday a couple months before I was due, and it was wonderful. They got to meet a lot of Chips in my family, and our families. I'll tell you what helped too is, like one of the other stories, our genetic extended families here in Wisconsin were nervous, as I think so were Mike and Melissa's families in Texas. So I think the face-to-face was actually very helpful for them as well. I remember when Mike and Melissa met my dad was nervous. He's in school. He's from the old country, Germany, Hungary. He was worried. And I think him being able to meet Mike and Melissa and talk with them, and he felt much better too. So I think it did wonders for us to be able to meet in person. Even though I was happy before then, it certainly did elevate the relationship for us and for our families.
Yeah, great. Okay, I have another question that came in. Was the level of openness described here, was that previously agreed to in the contract phase of the process, or did that level of openness evolve over time?
As far as when we decided to put our embryos up for adoption, we knew that we wanted complete openness, and so that was part of the matching process. So it's they would not have matched us with somebody that wanted minimal contact. They matched us with somebody that would be open to a full open adoption. So it's from the get-go, and it does evolve over time. Like I said, ours started very early on, but it continually grows stronger. But it's from the get-go. It's completely open.
Yeah, and
yeah,
I guess I'm sorry. Go ahead, Karina.
No, sorry.
I was just going to add to what Melissa said. I mean, we did put that we would be open to absolutely anything. I don't believe we had to necessarily define what that meant. We just said that we wanted to be completely open. So, you know, we weren't restricting it in any way, and then together we defined that openness, and it's been wonderful. It's really evolved to be completely open. So, but it didn't restrict us at the beginning. I mean, had we picked something else, we wouldn't have been matched with Melissa and Mike. And stories I've heard, you know, on both sides, I think there can be regret afterwards, depending on decisions made. So it's really nice not to have any regret. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, as far as ours too, we put down for openness and you know, open to basically any type of contact, although we knew it could be somewhat limited because we were in Canada and don't know where the embryos were coming from. But we also had written down that we would like meetings if possible, you know, like at times if possible. But I would say it has evolved a bit as well. As far as grown.
We'd like more.
We would. We do videos and pictures and you know, back and forth, that type of thing. And but it hopefully it can expand more.
All right. The next question is: do you feel like there is less of a risk in an open relationship with an embryo adoption because the genetic family already has an established family life versus a birth mother who may be young and placing her only child?
There's virtually no risk once you get into this process as far as embryo adoption goes. The contracts make that very clear. But there's always going to be feelings involved. And for us, you know, seeing Callie, first pictures of Callie after she was born, it was emotional. As a mother myself and knowing that that is our embryo, it is emotional. But you know that that family loves that child, is going to take care of that child, and we get to know her. And so the little bit of sadness seeing her for the very first time went away very quickly. And so as far as we were concerned, it can get emotional on many levels, but I think it's more secure through snowflakes with an embryo adoption than it is a mother adopting out her only child. I think there's more risk there.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I just thinking about it while Melissa was talking, I mean, I would tend to agree. There would certainly be more risk. I think there's more risk for some other things too, you know, with the birth mother situation, just given, you know, you don't have the history, you don't know, you may or may not know if there was drug use or if there was prenatal care. Likely the birth mother is less established, although not in all cases. But, and like Melissa said, I mean, certainly there's emotions on all sides regardless, you know, which path you go down. The nice thing is, again, the snowflake match, being matched, if you feel good, you know, using your intuition when they match, when you first get to talk to that couple, it feels right. The way I look at it now is we had so much that brought us together with that connection to begin with. I mean, it was really hard not to feel connected. They chose us. They were willing to allow us the blessing of using their embryos. Huge gift. So that's an immediate connection right there. How could we not acknowledge what a huge gift that was? This was us. So the connection is amazing. And, you know, like everyone said, it just continues to grow. And I think
yeah, I don't really have anything to add to it. I just agree with Melissa and Linda completely.
I'd say maybe the security of embryo adoption was one side that appealed to us, at least comparing it to foster adoption. But yeah, I'm not too familiar with how insecure, but we definitely felt very secure with the process.
Yeah. So we have another question that came in. What do you think is the biggest fear factor in regards to open adoption? In this case, it says, "Are you fearful?" But it was more of a, "Were you fearful that the genetic family will want to would want to take the child away or to be that child's parents?"
I'll start. From the genetic standpoint, we had our family. We were done. Would we love the children that were born? Of course. But there was never, once we signed those papers, we knew we had the family we wanted to have our children, or our embryos. And so there was never any doubt. And with the way that the contracts are written, and, you know, when you sign those papers, it's like you're giving away your embryos and there's no turning back. So, you know, in the very, very beginning of the process, there's lots of questions, lots of emotions, but as soon as you connect with the other family, I think that makes it so much easier in the whole process with the openness, because then you're talking to them, you know them, not just what's on paper, but you know who they are and what kind of parents they'll be, even more so than what you just read on the paper. So, but the other two, Karina and Linda could probably give you more insight on that end.
Yeah, so on the adoptive side, I've never once thought that. The great thing about Mike and Melissa, and I'm sure other families that are matched well, it would be the same thing. You know, we talked a lot at the beginning, as we do now, but we talked a lot, and they shared, you know, that their family was complete. You know, they had 4 children and quite a few remaining embryos, and they didn't want to donate them for research or destroy them. Those embryos were life, and they wanted those children to have life, and so do we, obviously, and they wanted to love those children, and so do we. So from the beginning, they shared that, you know, their feelings with us, and the more they shared, you know, you become more comfortable. But I certainly know that they have no intention of, you know, wanting Callie to live there. Not that their hearts wouldn't, you know, their hearts love her just as much. I know that. But we would certainly plan family vacations together. I would have enough trust to actually probably choose them to watch our babies if ever Chip and I in the future were to go on a vacation, which we haven't done since having, you know, to the extent that we used to. But I see family vacations. We've stayed at their house. We've stayed at the grandparents' house. I'd be very comfortable with them or older siblings watching, you know, watching our children. I don't have any fear that they would take them from us. They want the best for them, and they wouldn't do that to the children. It never crossed my mind.
Yeah, I won't lie. I think it was a fear, but honestly, it was before we were actually matched that I probably had the biggest fears. But once we were matched, it didn't take long, and we had gone for the transfer for Amos, and just speaking with our genetic family, and I just remember her saying this. So this was before I was pregnant or anything. She said, you know, they're not our embryos, they're God's embryos. And I guess for me, just hearing her say that, like, I knew that's the way they felt already, but it was just, it made me feel even better, like even for my own thinking, like, okay, they're not even just mine. So it was great, and it's just continued to grow from there. I would never, yeah, it is great. And like Linda had said, if we lived near our genetic family, we totally would probably swap childcare or whatever. It's that comfortable and close. Yeah.
I know just a little bit about seeing the way that they're secure and have, in a sense, given us space, has allowed me and maybe also Karina to really open up to them, and I feel extremely confident and would love to spend more time with them. Just seeing that they've worked through the issues themselves, it's not a problem to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have a question from Liz. She says, my husband and I have been chosen by a donor family, and we're meeting them for the first time on Monday. What should we expect, and how was your first reaction?
As far as our meeting went, we had talked a lot on the phone before we met, and we're very comfortable with each other just from speaking. And so when we arrived at the airport, they were waiting there for us, open arms, and it was big hugs. I mean, there was never any awkwardness or anything like that between us. It was just like walking into a family visit with any normal family member, a grandparent, aunt, uncle. It was just family. So it was very comfortable for us.
Yep, and this is Linda. Obviously, same thing for us. I mean, we were excited. I was just, I felt so happy that they wanted to come see us. I was excited that they could, you know, be there while I was pregnant and hopefully feel the baby kick, although Callie didn't totally cooperate. But I was really happy to be sharing with them, and you know, really like some other comments. The one thing I would say is I wish we lived closer.
Right.
It'd be nice to spend more time, and I'm glad they chose us despite where we live, because I'm so happy. But yeah, if we would live closer, I'm sure that would be fantastic as well. I know we'd see each other more, but yeah, that first meeting was great. as were subsequent ones.
Yes.
This is Karina here, and I, as Bert would tell you, I'm a more emotional person. So of course I was nervous meeting them for the first time, but not because they made me nervous, just because I'm more that way. But once we got there and the instant we saw them, because I mean this was before we only had the embryos in our care for maybe a month or two when we did the transfer the first time, and just open arms. It was like coming into a new family, or your family you haven't met, you know, just and it was that close, and it didn't feel odd, it didn't feel threatening, it was great. And yeah, I don't know how Bert felt, but that's how I felt.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's only grown from there.
Yeah, that's great. I love hearing those stories. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up, actually a little bit early, which is great, because I know with 3 people talking, with 3 families talking, it can sometimes take a while. So if you have anything else to add, now's a great time, and then I'll go ahead and close it up. All right, nothing? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and thank you, Melissa and Linda and Chip, and, of course, Karina and Bert. We just loved hearing your stories and having you join us today to tell us how your experience went. And I just want to wish everybody else to have a good day, good rest of your day.
Yeah, if there are questions, too, for Snowflake, Chip and I are happy to follow up if someone wants one-on-one questions or anything like that. We'll just put it out there that we're certainly happy to answer questions if they come up after.
Same here for Green and Bert as well.
Yeah, and I will be sending out a follow-up email, so if anybody has any further questions, they can just kind of message me back from there and get more information that way. All right, well, thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank
you. Good luck to all the families.
Thank you.